we've got a new parliament, of course, with Prime Minister Scott Morrison, but turns out it's got a very old problem that's dogged the last few prime ministers. It's got senators, independents who are showboaters, changing their minds, being drama queens. And yes, I'm talking about Senator Jackie Lambie. Yesterday she suggested she was just about to give the government that last vote it needed to pass its new cashless welfare card, so people on benefits couldn't blow it all on things like drink or drugs.
So I've always been a big supporter of the cashless welfare card. I've seen the results that has had.
Okay, that was yesterday. Government legislation will go through the Senate today. No deal.
No, I won't be supporting it, and I won't be supporting it unless the services are there, and I can see that the rehab services and the services that these people need to keep their habit are actually set up, which I'm yet to see.
Steve, we actually do have rehabilitation services already. It's not like it's none or only the ones that Lambie provides. What do you make of all this?
Look, I'm admiring Jackie's performances since she's been returned. I think she's a much smarter, more savvy politician up front. She's already delivered for Tasmania. I think she's taking advantage of that balance of power, Brian Harradine style that she did. I think you'll see her deliver more. I also have some sympathy for her view. She's been in the parliament before. She's not like a few of the other newbies. She knows you've got to see the colour of the money first. You don't take a government on trust. You say, if we're going to do a deal, I want to see the services first. And so she's saying...
But you've got to see the whole program rolled out over a number of years before you sign up to?
Well,
come on.
Look, if I was Jackie Lambie, I would absolutely insist on wanting to see the money in the budget first before I voted for this.
So no vote for a year?
She has supported... When I was in the Senate, she supported things the government said they'd do, and then down the track, they never happened. She's not buying a pig in a poke. She's playing it tough.
The point is, look, Steve makes a point, but Michael, so far, she will admit that the government has honoured those deals that it's done with her. Yeah. And, you know, also the way she's operating, give me money for Tasmania's public housing and I'll give you a vote in an unrelated area. I mean, come on, is that how we do politics?
It is how we do politics, and you know, as we said, Harradine was the master of that. I just hope Jackie Lambie's not going to become like a Xenophon and become the sort of, you know, unserious media creature. I mean, yesterday she was very definitive about this cashless welfare card, which is a great innovation, by the way. It's a great innovation by the government, and the trials have been very successful, as everybody knows. But then to change your mind today, you know, you want to be seen to be more of a Harradine, a serious figure, and not a Xenophon, and dare I say, not a Darren Hinch in his last days. It was all about publicity, and people, you know...
Hinch did it. Change my mind.
I know.
And the cameras are on you all the time.
People get sick of it after a while. You've got to be serious.
Look, it works, but I'm just calling it out because unless we call it out, it will always work, and it shouldn't work. We should actually call this stuff out, even though it works. We're not here to referee on, oh, that worked, you got a stunt, you got your face in the paper. We've got to say that's not good for Australian politics.
Years offering unrelated monies to the Greens and the Democrats to get various programs through.
Call it out every time.
Okay? He was the master of achieving what he needed to, even if they had nothing to do with the bill in question.
Soon we'll get to the American thing. That's what they do in the Senate over there all the time. The earmarking, you know.
How it works.
You give it to my farmers and I'll let you have a defence spending. You can't have that, I don't think. That's the corruption of the system. Or am I too pure and naive?
Well, you're too pure and naive.
Thank you, Michael.
Say it again.
We're on a unity ticket on you on this one, Andrew.
Like it or not, that's the way it works.
Hey, news poll today in the Australian. Now, I think we're all suspicious now about
Have they refunded their money to the Labor Party yet? Have they paid them for their polling during the election campaign? Until they pay their money back to the Labor Party, I'm going to struggle to take them seriously.
How long do you want on this? Anyway, look, I agree there's reason to be sceptical, particularly 3 years out. But for the record, it says the Liberals are ahead of Labor, 51-49. I think that feels to me all right. More significant is the fact that there's been a collapse in the support for Anthony Albanese, and Scott Morrison's nearly double his support in preferred Prime Minister. What do you think's caused that? I think that probably is right.
Look, I'm not surprised to see the rise in Scott Morrison. He's I think, been a clever politician, clever Prime Minister since the election campaign. He stayed out of the media. Always good to see. Stay out of the media, your poll goes up. It's a good thing. So I think the Prime Minister has played it well. I'm not as sure that the movements in an individual poll, especially at a time like the debate around the Tamil refugees. And I've got a strong view on that, as you know, Andrew. I don't know you can take a one-off event and try and wash it through as a permanent impact. And these blips come and these blips go. They happen to be in the news for the 2 or 3 days around the time of news poll. I mean, famously, Kevin Rudd used to organise a stunt every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday around the taking of news poll.
Oh, Turnbull did the same.
Turnbull did the same. They have all learned the trick of how to manipulate these things. So,
news poll's coming up quick. What have we got announced?
Exactly.
But the point is, look, Steve makes a point. You can't just, one incident like the Tamil refugees, Labor going to water on that, so to speak, let them stay when they're illegal immigrants. But the point is that issue in itself is a defining one for Albanese. I know him for his social welfare positions, which are basically soft left. I don't know him for, he tried it today to step up the economic rhetoric. That is where the election is going to be won or lost. Whether they can make economic policies so people feel safer and better off under Labor.
Of course. Look, in relation to Scott Morrison, he's been leader now of the party for over a year. It's hard to think of a mistake he's made in over a year. It's been an extraordinary... You'll think of one or two, but they're minor. It's been
very few.
Right? You compare that to other situations, not having gone to anyone. His has been an extraordinary performance.
Very disciplined.
Very disciplined and exceptionally good. Albanese's been leader now for almost 4 months, over 3 months now. He hasn't found his feet. Who knows where he's in anything? You can see he's finally realised the Keneally refugee issue of last week, attacking Peter Dutton, etc., was a disaster because they didn't ask any questions about it to the reps. They've worked out that was hopeless, not going anywhere. Attacking the government on its one of its two brand equities. Come in spinner. So, as I said, they've lost that argument since 2001, and Keneally wants to relive it. I mean, please. Now, Albanese has got to start now and by Christmas, even though it's early, we're not at Chiquita Lodge yet, but anywhere near it. But by Christmas, he's got to put down some fundamental markers in relation to the economy.
I agree with you,
and
Michael.
not listen to Wayne Swan, by the way.
No, but I was going to say that. Wayne Swan suggesting stick with the old policies of tax and spend.
Oh, no.
That is not the way to go, is it?
No, I think we've got to reassess. I think Albo's in the right place on this, and he has not said that we're going to keep everything. In fact, he's been quite clear that there's a root and branch review in this area, and we've got to decide what it is we're going to do. Now, I'm not going to be marking Albo down because we're going to take our time over this. I think the impatience of the 24/7 media cycle, he's got to win the next election. He's got to win it in that 3 or 4 months in the lead-up. You can't
make good
lose
points.
an election.
You make good points, Steve, but the point, I think there's another point that Malcolm Turnbull fell foul of in his first 6 months as Prime Minister. The first impression you create is the most powerful. And I think you can't, throw these months away wondering what to do. You really got to come out. Quickly, before we go, the corruption hearings in ICAC in New South Wales, they're not helping Albanese either. Today, Labor's lawyer, Ian Robertson, he categorically denied claims by suspended New South Wales party boss, Kayleigh Murnane, that he had privately urged her to cover up an unlawful donation of $100,000 in cash from a now-banned Chinese billionaire, Wang Zhangmo. Now, Murnane had told ICAC that Robertson, that's the lawyer, had told her not to say they'd met, not to note it anywhere, and he wouldn't even bill her for advice. He wouldn't write about it, note it either. Robertson today denies that because that's not what you expect a lawyer to say, and said that he had no memory of that meeting, but Michael Kroger...
But he could remember categorically not telling her that in the meeting. He categorically couldn't remember.
Yes, and even there was another odd thing that he also realised...
Swipe past.
He said, I have no memory of that meeting, but then again, I check and I find that I had used my electronic key card on the day that she said she met me to let her into my building. What do you make?
Well, you can be... funny about it. I don't want to make any comment about the evidence at all, for obvious reasons. All I can say is I know Mr Robertson, and I know him incredibly well. And I've known him for over 40 years. We were on the Young Liberals together before he went to Sydney. I'd simply say this about Mr Robertson, that I've always found him, and he's been a friend and foe, by the way, over those 40 years, or early in the 70s and 80s in the Young Liberals. I've always found him to be a man of unimpeachable integrity. That's what I'd say about Ian Robertson, and I know him better than most.
In that case, what he went through today will be even more scarifying.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
It is for everybody, those things.
No, the ICAC is never fun. I'm not a fan of the process. I'm not a fan of the organisation. I don't think this is fair. People's character can be permanently damaged and nothing ever comes of it.
That is true, and because it's got the word corruption in the title, that is already prejudging everything. Steve Connor and Michael Kroger, thank you both so much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.